What's up, everybody? It's LG Doucette here. You're listening to The First Mint, a podcast where I talk about NFTs and the world of Web3. The podcast comes out every Monday morning and occasionally on Wednesdays. If you like this content and you want some more, feel free to visit our Twitter page at The First Mint. A warning about today's episode. It contains many visual references because our guest is someone who has made many tweets in their lives. We also have a newsletter, though, that covers this podcast that comes out every Monday. You can just go to thefirstmint.substack.com. It comes through Substack. And in that newsletter, we've included all the tweets and NFTs that are referenced in this podcast because they are quite entertaining. As is our guest today, especially if you follow him on Twitter. His name is ThreadGuy, and he has become one of the most popular Twitter personalities of the NFT community, let's say, in the last year or so. To give you a sense of how prolific he is nearing 80,000 followers, despite having just started his account a year ago. On a daily basis, he gains maybe 200 to 300 followers and tweets probably about 100 to 300 times. In the last month alone, even though it's a bear market, he has gained 7,200 followers. But it's not just about the numbers, although you will hear a portion of this podcast today that is about the numbers for him. It's also about the content. He's a funny guy. He posts a lot of memes, and he started off trying to be an educator. And he still is. But now he's become one of the best shit posters that there is. And he believed in his shitposting abilities so much that he even dropped out of college to post on Twitter about NFTs. And that is despite not having any background as a comedian or improv or as a writer or anything. In fact, he came from like the sneaker world. He used to flip sneakers for those drops, and that's what attracted him about NFTs. ThreadGuy is an awesome guy. He's someone super fun to follow. He's a great part of the community. He's not afraid to beef with some of the more contentious or controversial accounts out there. And he's also a part of Tally Labs, which is the company behind the project Jenkins The Valet, which we had on just a couple months ago to talk about IP rights and how they're changing in the industry. I asked ThreadGuy to come on the show to tell us about why he is the way he is and what motivates him to be the way he is and what comes next for the king of NFT Twitter. This is The First Mint. Ladies and gentlemen of The First Mint, we have a very special treat for you today. A person whose tweets you definitely have seen. We've been following him for quite some time, since he has turned on the jets, so to speak, as a content creator, as a master tweeter. One of the best follows you can have in the NFT or crypto space. ThreadGuy, what's up, my guy?
Hey, how's it going, man? Thank you for the warm intro, and thanks for having me on. I'm really excited for this show.
Dude, absolutely, man. And I think people are going to be really stoked to hear from you and hear a little bit about your story and what made you want to do all this and what you're up to these days in the crypto space. And also just hear your point of view behind the tweets, kind of how you're feeling about the space and everything. I do want to share a quick story, though, before we get into all that. When I went to like DM you, and we've kind of had different conversations at different places of Twitter and other DMs and stuff like that. But when I went to DM you in Discord to ask you to come on the show, I realized that we had last spoken directly in Discord in January 2021 when you were like looking for help on Top Shot. Which is, listen, you and like thousands and thousands of other people were in that boat, where it was like those early days were like absolute chaos. Dude, tell me, was that your intro to NFTs? And tell me about that time for you.
It was, and yeah, that was too funny. Like when I opened the Discord conversation, I was cracking up because it feels like, a year ago feels like 10 after what we've been through here. But yeah, Top Shot was my first NFT. I first purchased a moment on the platform in like November of 2020. Prior to that, I had no NFT knowledge, no crypto knowledge, like never even owned a cent of Dogecoin. I was like previously, been pretty big in the reselling community. Like I've, flipping sneakers, streetwear, like botting
Hmm.
stuff, hype drops. That space is pretty big on Twitter, and it really expanded, especially around COVID. And
Mhm.
the collectible market went ballistic, and sports
Mhm.
cards was in that realm of collectibles.
Mhm.
And I got really big into the sports card community, like NBA, MLB, NFL, and was providing sports card information to essentially subscription alpha groups on Discord for a while, and I stumbled across NBA Top Shot, and yeah, I got to give a quick shout out to Burko Kid, absolute legend, who
Yes.
convinced me to buy my first moment. I was shooting the shit with him in the Discord, no idea what Discord it was, how I found it, anything, but convinced me to buy a couple moments in November of 2020, which turned out pretty well.
What did you buy?
I bought 5 or 10 Bradley Beal S1 moments. I
Mm.
think it was out of 1,500,
Mhm.
and I paid like $6 a piece. And I think I sold my the most expensive one for near $700. I made my best NFT trade in the first month.
Wow, man. Well, good for you, man. That's really exciting. You're talking about like alpha forums and groups and stuff for sneakers. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I've never been part of like Discord, like or forums or anything like that. Like I've never really had like a hobby or interest where I spent a good majority of the time online, like connecting with people. So I'm always curious from other people like who've been doing that for a while before crypto. What was that like? Like what is that world like?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's pretty wild, and that scene was at its peak in my opinion, or at least when I was around, like 2015 to 2018. And they called it sneaker Twitter, and quite frankly, it was very very similar to what we're doing now. And it was mostly a lot of young high schoolers, kids in the early college, and reselling any and everything. There's a lot of hyped stuff on the sneaker streetwear scene, and everybody was botting. So they would be, running these like 10,000, $15,000 bots on sneaker releases, and it was competitive, man. Like the top of the game, people were buying 400, 500 pairs of sneakers every release. Like there's a lot of parallels just to people hustling on sneaker Twitter, and then what crypto Twitter has become with the influencers and the alpha groups and the
Mm.
subscription groups. Like Discord was huge over there.
Mhm.
The only place you could get information, is to pay $50 a month for an alpha group. So
Mm.
it was a pretty smooth transition. Like I was familiar with Discord and just how the Twitter scene works from my experiences back then, even though I was never like a major player by any sorts.
Do you consider yourself an influencer now?
Unfortunately, I would say I have to say, I mean, like I am, whether I want to be or not. Like I think at a certain point, like you just are, whether you want to be. Like you can tweet that I'm not an influencer as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's like you don't. I don't feel like you get to determine if you are or not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's kind of it's. I always find it's funny because it's like a word from like Web 2 that also carries like a lot of negative connotation now of like
Yeah,
Instagram models and all that kind of stuff. And it's like I don't know if that's exactly like what the bigger accounts in like crypto Twitter are. You know what I mean? Like there's not. It's not really.
the scope of the word influencer is so broad, right? What you
Yeah.
get, I hate the word. I do not like it, but that's I don't know. There's no better word for it right now, so that's what we have to rock with, I guess.
Okay, well, I want to ask you, since you are a person of influence, let's put it that way. It sounds a lot more sophisticated when you
I
say
like that.
person of influence.
We'll put that.
Yeah, a POI. Um, since you are many people want to, you're very favorited. People really, I think a lot of people really love you and are really keen to follow you and track your progress and laugh at your jokes and listen to your commentary. Your branding is one thing I wanted to ask you about. And I'll share my story first. Just something I think a lot of people don't know is that when I started and I first started Discord, like to go into Top Shot in like September 2020, I was like, there's no way I'm going to put my name or anything. Like, and I was just Zion Williamson. Like, that was just my name in the Discord. And that
Okay.
was just me for like a while. And then a couple months later, I was like, I want to start making content. I want to start working with some of these companies or do something. And I was like, what am I going to go with? And my Twitter name had been LG Doucette for a long time. So I was like, okay, I'll just roll with that. And then I was like, I need a cool image in Discord. Because back then, there's no PFPs. There was like punks, and then there's like whatever else everybody else had, right? Like there
Yeah.
was no, it wasn't a thing. There was no NFTs to own that would be your PFP. And I decided to go with this photo, like a zoomed in photo of my mouth, which has a giant, when I had a huge mustache. And it's just like, if you look, you can open it right now on Discord. Like that's just my
Yeah.
PFP in Discord. And it's something like people will always know it's me. You know what I mean? Like whatever's happening in Discord, no one's going to miss like the giant mustache face. Right. So that was like, I was like, I'm going to go with this and I'm going to shoot my shot and get out there. And if it sticks, that will be my identity and I can never change it because, I don't want to mess around with branding. That's my story, ThreadGuy. Tell me about you and why you went with ThreadGuy.
Yeah, first of all, I mean that's a tough one to follow up. Like that's an iconic PFP straight up.
Thank you.
But yeah, ThreadGuy. So I guess it didn't always start as ThreadGuy. I created my Twitter, like a NFT focused Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
August of 2021, so about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I had a goal, like I knew I wanted a platform on NFT Twitter. Like I had already convinced myself, like this is the future. I'm early as hell. I need to get on whatever's happening with this because I did, mess around with Top Shot and make some money with Top Shot, but the market crashed. I, basically wrote it off, like faded the Bored Ape Mint, threw some money in some shit coins and called it a day. And when I had came back the second time in August, and I was like, all right, I'm committing to this. Like I'm really, really doing this. Like at the same time, I was a college student, stopped going to school so I could take the Twitter thing to the next level. Even
Wow.
at basically 100 followers, 150 followers. And so I was in a situation where I'm not an artist, I'm not a developer. By no means was I a whale, and I wasn't particularly educated on the blockchain. Like I couldn't just start dropping super technical
Mm-hmm.
articles and whatnot. So I was like, how am I going to grow? And I looked at the market and noticed a pretty wide educational gap. And I was like, I'm really new to this scene. I'm trying to invest in projects. As I'm investing in projects, I'm doing all this research because I'm thinking in my head, people do research and it's impossible to find anything. So I started with a thread on NBA Top Shot. Like it was a project I
Mm-hmm.
was familiar with. I knew there was a lot of influencers, people with influence that had platforms at the time on Top Shot,
Yeah.
and so I wrote this thread, tagged a bunch of people at the end. Got lucky. I got to give a Michael Levy shout out, who
Yeah.
was like the first person
MBL.
to quote, yeah, legend, quote tweet me. Got like 100 followers, and I was like, all right, like I can do this now, and
Mm-hmm.
just started pumping out threads, and that's how it started. Like my handle was it was Discover X NFT, which was just like a completely random thing I made up. Like thought it sounded kind of cool. I was an anon at the time, but always knew I would dox. But it started with Twitter threads, and I would find a project I really liked. Most of the time I couldn't afford it. Like I would write about projects I couldn't afford. The
Mm-hmm.
goal was really to find an ecosystem with enough substance to pump out 25 tweets. Like that was kind of my thing at the beginning. It was like I'll give you a thread that's actually a thread, not
Mm-hmm.
a five tweet overview of the volume and the founders, but like a real article on Twitter. And yeah, I mean that's how it started. I became Thread Guy. Eventually, the handle changed to not Thread Guy, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, here we are.
What was your original PFP then? Like it wasn't always the mutant, was it?
It wasn't. The main PFP was a Gvol from like probably 500 followers to like 4 or 5,000 was a Gvol.
A Jeeble.
It's Gevol. It's like a oh man, I bought the absolute Pico top. I probably paid like 2 ETH for it. Floor is like point one. Welcome to NFT Twitter. But Kid Eight is the
Oh,
artist. He's a
I've
fairly big
seen
artist.
these. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
even
yeah.
know that was called a Jeeble.
Yeah. It's Kid Eight is the founder
Yeah.
and the artist. Yeah.
Oh, that's what those are. Okay, I see those
Yeah.
often. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. Okay. Yeah, okay, that was it. And then you got the mutant. When did you get the mutant? Because the mutant is
I bought the
iconic.
Yeah, I bought the actually traded for the
Oh.
mutant in December, like late December of
Hmm.
2021.
Hmm.
Um, I probably had like four. I think it was like 4,500 followers, and the floor was like around three and a half, four ETH. But ETH was damn near 4,000, so it's about the same price as right now at
Yeah.
15 ETH. But
Nice. What is that? When's the last time you wrote a thread? Because I like the idea, like ThreadGuy. You started writing threads. You had a fantastic Hoodlums thread as well. I remember that one
oh
very
yeah,
distinctly.
that was a significant one for sure.
Yeah, Hoodlums awesome. The first PFP on Flow, right? And we were
Yeah,
talking about that when we were doing Flow Fest with the Flow team, and that was really exciting with the team at Sturdy Exchange working on that. You are now Thread Guy. Like your identity is Thread Guy. Like if you changed it, it would have to be like a huge like coming out of the
yeah.
new name. You know what I mean? But when
Uh-huh.
is the actual last time you wrote a thread?
The last time I wrote like a traditional thread on a project that I was interested in was in January,
Mhm.
but I will say I have written. I think I've written two threads since then, but both of them have been about Jenkins slash Azarbala.
Okay.
So I don't know if we count that, like hashtag ad, little promo there, but as far as far as like unique projects, it's been a while. It's been January, and honestly, I don't know when when the next thread is gonna be.
Well, tell me about that transition though, right? Because you kind of discovered your powers, right? Of like, okay, you wrote this Top Shot thread, MBL was all over it, other influencers over it. It's becoming a thing. You're in this kind of flow state where you are deciding to kind of make some sacrifices to focus on this. You are Thread Guy online, and now how would you describe your current content?
Man, my current content is sporadic. It's a lot of everything coming at you all at once. I mean, as a personality, but also like a news outlet in a sense. Like I kind of cover everything that's happening and put my own spin on it. Um, but yeah, I mean the transition, like I when I first started, it was threads only. Like it was the
Hmm.
only thing I would tweet was threads. I wasn't even tweeting GM,
Hmm.
and that's how I got my initial following. Built a little core, like 1,000, 1,500 people, and got a little audience, and then naturally, just because I grew and because I had spent more time in the space, I had more insights. Like I got scammed a couple times. I learned some things, bought a project that pumped, bought a project that dumped, and slowly started adding some insights to my tweets. Like it was no longer just threads. It was like discover X NFT, post threads, and has a personality too. And slowly it would be still pumping out threads, add some personality, add some insight, add some more takes. And I don't know, I there definitely was a light bulb moment. Like I tweeted this thread, I couldn't tell you what it was, but it was something I was not excited to write and took a long time, a lot longer than I wanted to. And I
Hmm.
posted the thread. It did not perform very well at all.
Ooh.
Um, and that same day, like something happened on NFT Twitter, like yada yada. The market was hot. I think it was Jimmy Fallon bought a Bored
Oh
Ape, or like
yes.
changed his
Yeah.
PFP, and it was like 5 hours later. And then all of a sudden, boom, Twitter's on fire. Like people are going crazy, and I tweeted just like I didn't really shit post at the time, and
Hmm.
there wasn't a ton of people that really did like that were heavy in the memes. Like Sartoshi was huge always,
Hmm.
and
That's right.
people like Function and stuff blew up. Like by no means did I invent the meme or invent the shit post, but
Hmm.
there wasn't a ton of people doing it like there is right now. And I threw out a tweet, something like it was literally as simple as like Jimmy Fallon started a NFT bull run in 2022 or something like that. And the tweet like went crazy. I'd never had a viral tweet. Like even threads, like threads can get really good engagement, but they kind of
Yeah.
get tapped within a specific community.
Hmm.
And this tweet like just went crazy, and it was the same day that I had spent posted the thread that didn't perform well that I spent all this time on. And it was a tweet I probably literally shit post I probably was literally shitting, and it was like a 1 second fire off, no thought, and it's like my best performing tweet ever, 10x over. And I
Yeah.
was like, it was a light bulb moment, and I was like, the transition wasn't like stop threads, but it
Hmm.
was like it's pretty obvious where I should be spending more effort and more time. And so I went less focused on the market and specific projects and covering them, and then more into just like general what's happening, like what do people care about right now, and
Mhm.
it spiraled, and after a couple months of that, 6 months, 7 months, it's my content is like completely transitioned.
How do you manage your content? Like, are you just like you just sit down and you
Not
just
well.
vomit it out all day, or do you have like a methodology of some kind, or do you think I have great ideas for posts, save them for like high engagement windows, like I worked in social media starting in like 2009, you know what I mean? So I've been through
Hmm.
millions of blogs and brands and all this different shit of like optimizing this or that or video or whatever. So I'm curious, as somebody who's gone from like
Yeah.
literally like you were saying 100 followers to almost 80K in this time, is this scientific to you, or is it pure chaos?
It's a great question. How do I manage it? And the straight answer is not well. It's it's very difficult, and I have tried to kind of optimize it in a sense with scheduling and planning stuff out. And what I've found with my content, my style, and the way just crypto Twitter works is more often than not, I find myself like a scheduled tweet or a banger today is completely irrelevant tomorrow. And that's, I don't know, maybe it's just my way of doing it, but I have really struggled this whole way up to like schedule and optimize and save tweets and plan ahead. It's more like I'm just on Twitter all damn day, like straight up.
Hmm.
Like I'm
Hmm.
I'm 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 on there, and it varies. Like some days I'll have a really high output day. Like I definitely pay close attention to the market, right? And there's certain days where it's like I'm tweeting, 200 times today, and there's certain days where it's like I can't even think of one. Like in the bear market, it's hard. Like in the bull market, there's a million things happening, and it's like you can literally tweet every 5 minutes, but it's hard when content dies down, and it can be forced, and it can start to get not fun, and that's where I try to step back, which I'm also not great at. But yeah, I mean it's just sheer volume, and it's not chaotic. Like on the surface, it's chaotic, but there's definitely it's calculated. It's a grown approach that changes every day and has, looks a million times different than it did August 2021. But it's definitely more than what you get at the surface level. Like tweets have intent, and like I feel like there's always something I'm pushing towards and aiming towards every time I say something or apply something or engage or host a spaces. Like there's definitely goals that are being worked towards and pushed towards
Oh,
as there's the chaos on at the surface level, if that makes sense.
may I ask what the goals are?
I mean, the goal of recent was I'm hounded on NFT Inspect a little bit. It's a low hanging fruit. I don't even, are you familiar with that platform?
What is it called?
NFT Inspect.
No.
Okay, yeah. So they basically track like
Hmm.
I hate even saying it, but they track like engagement, like
Hmm.
who has the most reach on
Hmm.
with NFT profile pictures. So that's like it's like an easy thing to just like look at and see. And
Yes.
I mean it's for better or for worse, right? The leaderboards, it's nonstop, but long term, like I look at that a lot, and I look at my engagement, and I set analytical goals and have tweets I try to meet, like, but I found myself just having a lot more fun with it, especially as I started growing a lot. Like at the beginning, I would be very hard on myself with like I need 3 threads a week, like this number of tweets a day, like I need analytics to hit this number, etc. Um, but as I grew, I like laid back and allowed it to be more fun, which it definitely has.
Well, you're holding in this site. So this site, just so people who are listening, is like basically just ranks collections in terms of I guess this is like Twitter clout essentially, and also influencers, people of influence. And ThreadGuy, you're in position 7.
And I feel crazy even saying the NFT Inspect comment because it's like become a meme in the community. Like all anyone cares about is their NFT Inspect rank, which obviously like we're in a bear market here, fighting over reach when like no 10% of the community is on Twitter. So it's very short sighted, but yeah, I mean it's definitely impacted how people approach Twitter, in my opinion.
So I didn't even know this, man. So you are in this like daily ranking freaking race against the other
That
people of
never
influence.
ends. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
there's no ending. Yeah, what is
And
it? Was there?
there's no goal either. There's no goal. You don't like win anything, or like no one even cares either. Like people make fun of it unless you're number one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I can see just again, people. Okay, so just for people listening who might be curious, if you filter this thing by influencer rank, which says influence rank is inspired by Google's PageRank methodology and uses the follow graph to show profiles followed by accounts with significant reach and audience. Okay, so the top one is Punk 6529, who is a fucking genius.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 2 is Farouk, and then number 3 is Soul Big Brain, as in like Solana Big Brain. I don't even know who the fuck that is, man. Who's that? Do you know who that
Yeah.
is?
I don't even really like. I like know of him, but I couldn't tell you in the slightest
I've
anything
never
about
heard of
him.
this person.
See,
Doodles
that's the
is
thing.
number
Solana
5.
Solana Twitter is like a whole different world too. They
Yeah.
like live in their own chamber. They don't know us. We don't really know them too well.
Yeah, that's fine. D's 5. Okay, D's 5 is 8. Franklin, who has a bunch of apes, is 11. Fuck Render's in there. Tropo, Gordon Goner, CryptoPunk's Twitter is in there. Richard.eth, Alex Ohanian. So you are in between. So you are just ahead of Gargamel from Bored Ape Yacht Club. That's pretty good. That is pretty
That's
damn good.
that's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, several spots ahead of Josh Ong and Drifter Shoots. Okay, yeah, you're doing well, man. You're doing incredibly well on this site. I like you were just explaining to me how like this is your main anxiety, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, let's do an analysis of how high the
Who's
mountain
in
is that
front of
you.
you? Yeah. Who's in front of you?
Here's how high the mountain is that you still have to climb faster, harder. Man, that is good. Okay. Let's keep it more fun. What would you say? You had the Jimmy Fallon was like a huge eye opener for you about like literally, sitting on the crapper writing like 5 words pays off way more than spending hours writing a thread. What what would you say out of everything you've posted? And it says here you're posting like hundreds of tweets a day. What like meme, shit post, whatever. What is the one that stands out for you as like you're like that is my best work? This tweet.
Okay, that's a great question. I'm gonna say I don't have a single tweet that I could read back to you as I would call it my best, but I think I have. There was like a moment in just like when I started shit posting where I was like, okay, I I can like people think I'm funny and I can do this. And that was when do you remember when like Ty Lopez made
Hmm.
an appearance on crypto Twitter and like launched a project and all that?
Yes.
That was like all right, that was peak ThreadGuy content if I'm being honest. Like, that might have been the peak. I don't remember quite when that was. I think it was like January, February. And
Okay.
that was the peak. Like that was right around Pixelmon too. And
Uh-huh.
I probably I didn't have like a ton of followers, but I was starting to grow. Like I think I had over 10K and was starting to feel like I had a platform and I was firing about Ty Lopez and
Mm,
got like he was started engaging with me and like he wasn't interacting with anyone and we had like a bunch of back and forths that got like crazy reach and then he was like in my DMs trying to get me on the podcast with I think Function went on and I didn't go on, like we never did it kind of
mhm.
blew over in a couple days, but I just remember that moment like feeling significant to me at the time because I was like I can really get some like these memes and these funny posts, whatever you want to call them, can really get some reach, and you can connect and like meet people that you would otherwise never have an opportunity to do. And Ty
Mhm.
Lopez, like I don't care about meeting Ty Lopez, but it was just like a moment where I was like, okay, like this is I would never be able to talk to these people without having this platform and this reach.
And that was before all the Radio Shack stuff too, right? Because the Radio
Yeah,
Shack stuff
that
was
was
pretty
pre
wild.
that was going to be my second answer. Yeah.
For anybody listening right now, like just so you guys know that these podcasts also come with a newsletter now on our Substack. So what I'll do is I'll post the tweets that you're referencing. I'll pull them up and I'll put them in the newsletter as well, so people
Cool.
have like
Cool.
a visual. They can follow along visually with the memes you post. That's great, man. Well, it's good. It's good. Like so when you're writing stuff, you're like thinking about that a little bit, right? Like that's in the back of your
Definitely.
mind of
Yeah.
like that
Yeah,
was like the
definitely.
top time. You kind of want to emulate that or just kind of think along those lines a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that was like January, February was like where I really take like my following kind of went crazy, my output went crazy, and it was just like
Hmm.
a chaotic, euphoric time of like crypto Twitter. Like I like pick those days of like Pixelmon and shit like that like that's the good old days of crypto Twitter already, in my
Hmm.
opinion. So that
Hmm.
that'll be hard to replicate, but I'm excited for what this scene is going to look like when the bull market is really back. You know, it might be a while, but
Let's
we're
let's
we're,
let's
we're
talk
gearing
about
up.
that. Let's
Yeah,
talk about that because obviously, you're master memer, shit poster, brawling with people on Twitter. But you started with insights, and you're still providing them, even if sometimes they're kind of in joke form. You're still a very much a pundit and a commentarian. Let's say. Let's hear your thoughts on the bear bull market, man. Like outside of funny tweets and stuff like that. Like where do you feel like we're at? What is going to drive that next bull run for NFTs or just for adoption or whatever? Like, especially considering that you entered Top Shot like just before the whole thing took off, right? Before
yeah.
people started to find out what NFTs were. So you got some cred there as being there before. Where are we at now?
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much have had the luxury of being up only since I joined NFTs. I mean, late 2020, like it, I made off pretty well. You know, I'm no expert, but it doesn't take an expert to know that we're pretty down bad right now. The market is, you know, we're in a full fledged bear market. Like, there's no sugarcoating and pretending anymore. Things are pretty ugly. And I think this is something that generally everyone expected, as you do. No one knew when or how to time it perfectly, but we knew this was coming. And it's something I had planned for, you know, as much as you can, I guess, in my situation. Like I had known it, there may be a period, you know, a multi-year period where this essentially disappears at its worst case, and you know you are gonna have to figure out some way to weather that. And I don't know what really keeps me like just feeling up through the bear market. I mean, it's ugly. Like my portfolio is wrecked. Everyone's portfolio is wrecked. I'm not really trading. I'm not really making money on NFTs. You know, no one's making these 100x gains anymore. Like all that shit has stopped. And what really keeps me just up and optimistic in a sense is, you know, I really like when I started in August, I was fully confident that this is the next thing that's here to stay, and to the best of my ability am able to just look out 5, 10, 15 years ahead, because I'm not going anywhere. I really can't go anywhere. And even if I do and
Hmm.
did and made off well somewhere else, like all paths lead back here. Like you're coming back at some point, even if you leave in the bear market to,
Hmm.
for whatever reason, to do whatever, like you're coming back, everyone's coming back. And I think, we're in a very unique situation where people have, I mean, a once in a generation opportunity. Like, there's not going to be another opportunity like there is right now in, you know, 2022 to get into NFTs and crypto while the market's wrecked.
Hmm.
We're still early as is, and everybody's already left. Like, you have a chance to like solidify yourself, um, however that is in the space, and I think that's worth suffering through some pretty hard
Hmm.
times, and we might like it could get ugly. I mean, I'm not the doomer here, but this could go on for years. So I think it's important to just remember like why we're here. Yeah.
What okay, that's a great perspective and very sobering, of course. What do you think bear market, let's say, lasts a really long time? We know the famous Gary V quote, 99% of projects are going to zero.
Hmm.
You're right at the heart of the community. You're at the heart of the sentiment. Like that's probably the what your content does, like the true currency of your content is that it captures how people feel in that moment.
Mhm.
What do you think is going to survive this current era of NFTs? Like, not, let's say 99% of projects or 99% of like trends even will go to zero, will never come back. What sticks? What comes out on the other side?
Yeah, I think there's like in the macro broad, just like things in the NFT space. I'm bullish on is I think gaming is to me gaming is our like savior, but it's not ready, and it's not ready in a year. It's not even. I don't even know if it's ready in 3 years in like the savior sense. Um, so yeah, like 99% of projects are going to zero is not a joke. And I think anyone that thought that was bullshit or exaggerated or a joke is seeing it happen right now and knows it is absolutely not a joke. It's the truth. And 99% might be generous even. I think a lot of projects right now are in a very tough position, mostly not funded, like don't have a lot of money, don't have a huge team, don't have a huge staff, resources to survive a multi-year bear market. And I think the projects that do are gonna be the ones that show up every day, um, and just continue to show face and be like, I'm here, I'm building, and we're still doing this because pretty much any project right now could pull the slow rug cop out, just disappear, and no one even has the energy to chase them, pursue them, anything. Like it almost feels like people have a free pass right now to just disappear, and nobody cares because the market is so ugly. And most people will do that. But the projects that can survive, as we know, will be the biggest winners in the next wave. And I think for a lot of communities, like it's simple as showing up tomorrow and doing it all over again, and saying GM, as little as saying GM on Twitter, and engaging your community, and making a Discord announcement today. Like there are not gonna be a lot of teams that stick around if we still look like this in 6 months. Like if ETH is $1,000 in 6 months, like this, it's gonna be if it's a ghost town right now, it's gonna get
Mhm,
ugly, and there are
mhm.
not gonna be a lot for every one goblin town. There's like 10,000 failures. Like there may be another
Yeah.
one, but there's not much. And yeah, like it's not going to get bright anytime soon. And the projects that really commit to this and
Mhm.
say I don't care about point one ETH floor, like we have something to build, like we have a roadmap, we're gonna build this project. Those are the projects that are going to win, in my opinion.
I've only got a few more questions for you, Thread Guy. This is actually a question for you about about your creation too. Have you ever previously been like a writer or just a funny person in your circles? So you ever done any kind of like stand up or anything like that, or is just the genesis, like this just came out of you one day?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty wild. Like, I mean, I guess I would consider myself like a pretty charismatic, generally funny guy, but
Hmm.
by no means a comedian, a stand up. Like I always like enjoyed writing in a sense. Or I guess as I got older, I liked it. And when I was doing the sports card
Hmm.
work, I would do a lot of write ups, and so I definitely got a lot of practice and with writing and doing some tweeting back then. But this is straight up. This is the genesis. Like I have
Hmm.
no idea where it came from. I was not expecting it either. Like I was expecting to take the thread thing to 100,000 followers as long as it took, but
Hmm.
that's not the route it went. And
Hmm.
I don't know. Like it's fun. Like adding the personality and like the humorous side
Hmm.
to the Twitter content really made this fun and allowed me to like read so much further and meet so many more people. Through Twitter posts, it's pretty absurd.
Okay, so this is it. This is your discovery. This is where
Yeah,
we're discovering the Thread Guy is being discovered through his Twitter antics. That's perfect.
straight up.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. Yeah. You were just like the sneaker flipper before, not
Yeah, there
non
you go.
funny, nothing like that. Not a
Yeah,
writer, but now you're the man.
yeah.
Okay. Uh, let's chat about what you're doing with Jenkins and Tally Labs. We had the boys on a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago now to talk about the change of intellectual property in the space and to walk us through what they're doing with people licensing their apes to the project.
Hmm.
You famously have said that you don't take promos, don't take shills, but you have taken this job
I have.
which is great. It's especially even now in the bear market, it's one of the most respected projects in the space, I would say.
Mhm.
How did you even working there? How did that come about?
Yeah.
Oh wait, sorry. Can you start by telling us what your title is there?
Oh,
That's the
sorry
most
about that.
important part.
Yeah, my official title is the Director of Vibes for Jenkins The Valet and Tally Labs. I think it's the best title I've seen. Web 2, 3, 1, 4, best title in my opinion. Um, yeah, I found that was funny. Jenkins The Valet originally minted in August, which was the
Mhm.
same time I started my Twitter, and it was the first Ethereum project I ever minted. Yeah, like I had bought Top Shot packs, if we're calling that first mint, but
You.
never anything on Ethereum.
Mhm.
So top Jenkins Valet was my first mint, and then in October, like early October, it was probably like the second or third project I ever wrote a thread about, which is funny. I think the floor was like 0.01 at the time. The mint was like 0.06, so the floor was down bad. There was essentially no community around the project either. I minted a couple. I minted three. Never listed. I wasn't like I didn't really understand what it was. Like I got it, but I didn't really get it. But something inside of me was like, this project is different than these stupid PFPs. That's why I faded the Bored Ape Mint. Like I knew about it, I knew it was happening, I knew people were excited about it. I just didn't understand PFPs. Like I didn't get punks, I didn't get hash mask. I just didn't understand it. And Jenkins, like, yeah,
Hold on. Just so you know, like there's a text that's been shared many times of Phil, my brother, asking me, be like, "What about these apes?" And me being like, "No, that's garbage. It'll be gone in 3 weeks." Okay, just so,
uh,
you're not alone, man. You're not
I have
alone
a
fading the apes.
I have a deleted tweet from like the old
Ah,
Twitter screenshot somewhere in
oh.
my phone, making fun of people buying it. But Jenkins
Ah,
Jenkins felt like it was like a project I felt like I could explain to someone or even explain to myself like what could NFT utility look like? Like what could it actually look like? Don't tell me gaming, don't tell me metaverse. Like what? Show me a real use case. And I thought that that was it. And at the time, like I didn't really understand like why is the floor so low? And if this like I felt like if this isn't something big, like I just don't really know what I'm doing. So I wrote about it. I met them, met the team, VJ and Safa, who at the time I think I just met like Jenkins, whoever's running the account. And yeah, we just nothing crazy, like just kind of formed a relationship through there. Like they gave me a ton of love, a ton of respect, and I was really small at the time, like really small. And Jenkins had a small community, but they had the ape community behind them. So I definitely got a lot of like follows and connections I was really happy about through that. And then as time went on, just kind of kept the regular timeline interactions, like occasional DM. I was just a holder and a pretty loud community member, so I would tweet about Jenkins a lot, and we would just go back and forth, but nothing serious. And it wasn't until April, yeah. I had I had known for a while in April that I was gonna be full time Web3. Like I was actively looking for something somewhere to really work, and Jenkins came out of nowhere. Like it was unexpected. They just shot me a DM and we hopped on a call and they basically pitched me the idea. I came up with the title Director of Vibes, but it was really cool because I had talked to a lot of people, interviewed with a lot of people. I had a pretty big platform at the time, like 30, 40,000 followers in April. So there was definitely people that were willing to bring me on the team. But I was in a weird situation because, first of all, I didn't really know what I wanted, right? Like, I didn't want to be a community manager. Like, I didn't want to run someone's Twitter or manage Discord and just do something like that. I didn't want to just be marketing, and I was in a weird situation, 6 months removed from college, where I've never really had a real job straight up, and I wanted to get into a project that was a company and that had money and that had structure and that could really show me how this thing works on the inside, and like how the pros do it. And Jenkins was like perfect combination of both, where incredible team doing incredible things and such a like invaluable learning experience, which was number one. And number two, director of vibes. I'm not a community manager. I'm not the guy that runs their Twitter. Like I'm everywhere, and I get to kind of have my fingerprints on everything across the project and participate, across marketing, across strategy, across everything, which was, I feel like the perfect way to utilize me and exactly what I was really looking for.
Well, that's great, man. So what do you do there? A bit of everything. That's pretty typical for a startup, especially in an industry that like didn't
Yeah.
exist before. What is your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, I would say in the most broad sense, like director of vibes is marketing, and to
Hmm.
break it down, like I'm the community guy at the helm, right? Like I
Hmm.
I host community spaces. I'm in the Discord all day. Like I tweet hundreds of times a day. Like you can find me at any time as a community member, and that's really what I'm focused on. I'm do partnerships and help connect with people on Twitter. I help with content and with marketing plans and content rollout. Some content comes from me. How we push narratives and tell stories on social because I spend so much time on the damn Twitter app. Yeah, and I get to do strategy stuff as well, which I love. Being involved with what are we doing next? What are we building? How does it how do we add value to our holders? It's been so fun because in the same way that crypto Twitter is like a completely new world every single day. Like that's what it feels like. Being the director of vibes is like every day I get to do something new, and I still get to be ThreadGuy on Twitter and do what I
Hmm.
do, which is the best of both.
That must be nice, man. Well, good for you, man. That's a in terms of
Thank
having
you.
like a first job, like a real job. Um, that is pretty sweet, honestly.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That is
It's
pretty
wild.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you know what my first job was. My first like real like full time job. I had to screen documentaries all day for like one of the first like HD TV
Oh
providers in
wow.
Canada, and I would just sit there and watch like really bad documentaries about like nature and like antique shows and just different shit like that. And it was in Canada too. So in Canada, like if you're on TV in Canada, like 35% of your content needs to be Canadian content, like Canadian made content. So we had all of like the
Okay.
worst like farming 12 episode farming shows and I had to review
Oh
them.
man.
So it sounds fun. Like watching TV for a living sounds fun, but trust me, it's pretty
Yeah.
awful after a couple weeks.
At least you were learning something new every day.
No, you turn it out after a while. You're just like not like occasionally we get IMAX documentaries, which was cool. The IMAX ones were dope, but
Okay.
after a while you're just looking for like errors or like weird stuff to
Yeah, I got
flag.
you.
But otherwise,
That's funny.
okay. Dread guy, we're almost at the end. A lot of people, you're a fantastic content creator. We're content creators as well, so obviously, a lot to learn from someone like you who's had so much success in such a short amount of time. Probably a lot of people out there who really enjoy tweeting and putting content out as well. It's a fun space to do that in. It's really standard question. If you have three pieces of advice, somebody right now, they've got a couple hundred followers, they think they're funny, they think they got something to offer to the community. What are your recommendations? What should they
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, great question. I'll say the biggest one and pretty much my answer every time. It's a little cliche, you might be like, yeah, whatever. It's consistency.
Mm,
Like what I've noticed in myself and
mhm,
what I've observed across NFT, crypto, Twitter, whatever, of people that have grown really fast.
mhm,
And I don't know what your intentions are, what your motives are, but I'm just thinking straight growth, get a platform as fast as possible. Like there's
mm,
nothing can replace consistency, and the people that grow the fastest, and I have seen just level up the most are the ones that show up every single day, whether
mm,
ETH is up 100% or down 100%.
mhm,
And I really think at the helm, like there's nothing that can beat consistency across people that tweet, people that host spaces, like across projects, like across the board. You get a lot of respect for showing up every day.
mhm,
Um, and I guess the second lesser important thing is you have to like for me, it really helped just having having a target, like
Mm.
having a plan. And the plan started as I'm going to write one Twitter thread to I'm going to write 3 Twitter threads a week to
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tweet 100 times a day to I'm going to accept, like, it just, it spirals. And
Mm-hmm.
what the plan is on day one, like, take it from me, will probably be completely different from day 50, from day 100, from day 365. But
Mm-hmm.
showing up with a plan, like, talking points, like something you want to do. You're an artist, you're a developer, like whatever you do and
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're pushing for on crypto Twitter, like, just have a have a plan. And I used to track followers from my threads, and at the beginning I would get about 25 followers if I wrote about the right projects, like covered the right communities, whatever. And I would just do a quick math. Like, 25 followers is
Mm-hmm.
it's 25 followers, and you do that 4 times in a month. Like, boom, that's 100 followers. And maybe that 25 now becomes 27. Becomes 28,
Mm-hmm.
and it just scales. And just having a plan I could fall back on, and take a step back, get out of the day-to-day engagement, and look at, how's my August been, like, how's my September been, have I written my 12 threads, like, have I tweeted as much as I wanted to, and to kind of remove yourself from being so close to it you can't seeing it, to being able to see the plan pretty clearly, and tying that in with consistency. Like, you may not be very good at it. Like, I cringe when I read my first threads, when I read my old tweets, old shit posts. When I read last
Yeah.
week's, I cringe. Like,
Right.
you always feel like what you did last week sucked, and it probably does, but everybody else's sucks, and eighty
Mm-hmm.
percent of the community is left. Like, there's such a gaping opportunity for someone to just come in and just disrupt this in whatever
Mm-hmm.
you do in the space. And I think that opportunity, like, should not be downplayed, because it's significant. There's real opportunity to make a name for yourself in whatever you want to do.
Sage advice. Sage advice. All that is fantastic, but a good supplement for it, if you don't want to do any of that, is clearly to just check NFT inspect 18 times a day. Do whatever you need to climb the ladder.
God, do whatever you can do to block that damn app from your browser before you start.
Okay. Okay. ThreadGuy, it's been a pleasure. Last thing is we play a game on the show, and it's called Would You Rather. Okay.
Okay.
And it's very simple. I ask you a question with 2 options, and you tell me which one you would rather. Okay. Are you ready?
I like that game. Let's do it.
Okay. Really simple one to start. Would you rather that your biggest purchase ever, let's say your biggest purchase ever, how much, can you tell us what your biggest purchase ever is in ETH?
At one time, it was the Mutant Ape, like, on one single NFT, 4 ETH.
Yeah. 4 ETH. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So moderate, right? But nowhere,
Yeah.
there's some massive purchases out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's say you spent 100 ETH. Okay. You spent 100 ETH on something. Would you would you rather that was a mechaverse or a pixelmon?
A Pixelmon, because are we allowed to give rationale?
Of course.
Okay, Pixelmon, because if I spent 100 ETH on a Pixelmon, it was absolutely for the memes. But if I spent 100 ETH on a Mechaverse, like, I'm just a terrible trader, is how I
Mhm.
see that.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Great answer. You are offered a position running another Twitter account,
Mhm.
and it's an offer you cannot refuse, either because they were giving you like $100 million or just whatever, just some insane reason, whatever motivates you,
Uh-huh.
it hits it. Would you rather that Twitter account be the Twitter account for Radio Shack or the Twitter account for Luna?
Oh man. Maybe Luna, if we're gonna be honest. I think Luna, that would be an experience. It'd be a
Yeah.
little scary because there's a lot of angry people, as Radio Shack just is Radio Shack. But I think Luna, that would be wild, running that for a week.
Mm-hmm. It has a
Yeah,
million, or the Terra Money powered by Luna, I think is the
yeah,
account, and it has 1.1 million followers.
that'd be
And
insane.
it's still tweeting. Oh my
Is it
god.
really?
Okay. Yeah, it's still putting stuff out. Oh
Oh
my god.
no.
Okay. Okay. It even tweeted that documentary about Dokwon, about
Uh,
him. Like, it's the expose. It's even tweeting about that.
oh man.
Okay. Last one. Last question. I remember when you doxed yourself, right? And even just looking through some of your recent Twitter photos, you're sharing photos of your haircut. maybe leading us in fashion, because many people in crypto are likely men, and many of us probably just wear pajamas all day and have no fashion sense. And that's why we really love getting merch, because we need new clothes. Let's use that as a rationale. You are asked to be the fashion advisor to a high-end, very, very important person in crypto. And again, it's an offer you can't refuse, and you have to do it. You have to do it. You have no choice. Would you prefer that person be Gary Vaynerchuk or Vitalik Buterin?
I was just thinking, like, in my head, I was thinking Vitalik. Like, like, I actually am a big Gary Vee fan. Like, love Gary Vee, think he's dope, but Vitalik is too good to pass up.
What would you tell him to change, though? His fashion is incredible.
No, I think we would lean into it. Like, we would just go obscure, leaning into his style. Like, we would just take it to the next level.
Oh, I love that. Okay, right on. Well, ThreadGuy, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much for stopping by the show, and great to chat with you.
No, that was a blast, man. Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
And that is going to do it for us today, folks. Hope you enjoyed that interview, and thank you again to ThreadGuy for making some time to come on, take some time away from his busy tweeting. We'll be back next week with another great guest and another great episode of The First Minute.